Hello, this is Bonnie, and if you recall the very last video I did, which I'll leave a link to that in the description below, I created this stencil using a fairy hug stencil and for a frame. Now this could have been, you know, an entire thing. You could just left this part of it masked off, but I decided to make it more like a frame, and so I actually cut the part out, and then I did, as you recall, the masking and the inking. So today I'm going to be working on what I'm going to be putting in the center. So this is what I'm going to be using, and these are the new stamps, the new release that Fairy Hugs has, and this is a sentiment from that, and this one's called Friendship Sunshine. And then we also have Garden Boots, and as you can see, it comes with two little birds, and that's what I'm going to be using, the birds, and I'm going to be using actually the top of these boots today. I'm not really going to be using the boots. And then I'm also going to be using the fairy from this release. It's called Juniper. So, and this is also has a separate flower that you could also use as well, just to stamp within your projects. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set up really quickly. I have my stamping platform ready to go, and we are going to be doing some stamping off the side. So I'm going to be using my scrap paper. So I'm going to put that behind. Going to get some of this taped down really quickly. I'm going to start with this side, I think. I'm going to have to move my tape as usual. But actually, I think I need to have my sentiment on there first, because it does really dictate where everything else will go. And that just will go off to the side. So we're going to go ahead and get that all set up. I'm going to grab some of my stamps off to the side and get going. Let's see. Okay, so that's going to be up here as close as I can get to the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and get that stamp. Whoops. Almost lost one of my little stamps. All right, yeah, there we go. And we're going to stamp everything in VersaFine Clear Nocturne. And I'm going to make sure I got that as centered as best as I can. And line that up. So like I said, the sentiment is really going to dictate how I put the rest of the stamps on that circle. All right. Then we'll give it just a little bit more ink. I probably needed to refill my ink pad again, but it's still good. Just have to stamp more than once. There we go. So there's that, and then the next thing I want to do is set up my fairy, and I want to make it so that, I'm going to show you, this bird right here, she's going to be, so I'm going to put her up a little bit higher. She is going to be reaching out to this little bird. So she's going to be going up higher. Because the way she's looking down. If I have it straight across, it doesn't look like she's really looking at the bird and putting her hands out trying to help him. So I'm making it so that the way that she's looking would be that she's looking at the bird. And I really don't, I'm not going to really put the boots so much. It's going to be to the side. You'll normally wouldn't really notice it. It's a garden theme. Not that it can't be, but I just decided it wasn't that necessary. Let me make sure, there we go. She's not quite lined up the way I want her. There we go. Actually, it really helps to have stamped these stamps, because when they're dark and they have that little bit of stain, you can really see where you want them to be on your project. And here's another thing too, tip. If there's a little bit of dust or a little bit of anything, I don't want to call dust, but anything that's on top of the stamp when you go to stamp, it will stamp that. And you really want to make sure your stamp is clean from that kind of, I want to call it debris, I don't know what you want to call it, because it will stamp it and it won't stamp what you want stamped. And when you go to back to stamp it, it won't matter because that part has stamped and kind of messes up your design. I've had that happen before because I couldn't see. It was just a little particle of dust, or maybe it was paper scrap, I don't know, but it just, I couldn't see it. And then when I went to stamp, it actually stamped that because that's what the ink would be on. And that's a little disappointing when you're in the middle of making something to have that happen. All right, again, because my ink pad is a little not as juicy. Okay, that's great. Now, this is a part that's really fun. You can always take a look at your stamps and see the parts that you can use instead of using the whole stamp, because sometimes those stamps will give you a whole nother design, and that's really cool. I learned a lot from the design team that I'm on. They tend to take these stamps and look at them and see bits off of them that you can use. So I'm not putting this whole stamp on here. I'm just wanting to use the roses, the flowers. So I'm going to be putting those like around down here, but just to get an idea, I need to know where that bird is going to go, and then I'll put the roses. So she's going to be looking at that bird, wanting to help that cute little bird. Our being friends, that's what we're about, the friendship. Because I always thought it was neat to, especially when I was young, to have birds. You know how you will go outside and you want to be by them and be really quiet, and you want to have them come close to you or something. It's really kind of fun. So this is like what that reminds me of. All right, get that little bird stamped. And he has a lot of really cute little details in him. Sweet little bird. See, look at that. I want to show you. Yep, sweet little bird. All right, now for the part of putting the roses around. Now that I know where I want that to be, I can just actually put the roses. So that I'm going to use the just to get an idea of how I want that. Yep, we're going to go like that. Because the bird has these little feet, but I don't want to cover them up because you can't see them. So I'm going to try to get close. Okay. I really like these flowers at the top of here. They look really nice, just stamped like themselves. I'm going to give that just a little bit. You can see, I guess, the bird is floating a little bit above those, but that's okay. I can make that work when I color in. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add some more. go ahead just to even that up a bit. I'm going to add even more up here. And what's nice about these roses also is they can be colored in, although the color behind works great for already having color. So you can just leave everything as it is, very simply. All right. So a very simple little card. It would also be really cute, like if you did bookmarks or you wanted to do something simple. And you can always mask off, even if you wanted to do a circle on your card, within your card, just mask off the rest of your card, and you could have a circle within it, and you could come back and even ink that if you wanted to. So there's lots of things you can do just to make really cute little designs like this. Even this would be fun to even just frame and set out or give to a friend, as it would be framed in a circle frame. So lots of fun things to do. So I'm going to go ahead. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to color this with my color pencils, and I'll be right back. Okay, before I start coloring that other thing, I decided I'm going to be doing like a frame, or kind of like a mat around the outside of that circle. And so I pulled out 2 of my dies and to make that frame, and this is 4 inches around the inside. That will be the opening, and I did allow a little bit of space so it's not going to butt right up against it. And this one is 4 3/4. So that's what I did. I die cut those out to make a little bit of a frame mat, and I'm not going to leave it white. I am going to stamp those roses all over the outside of this and then color it in. And that's why I came back to tell you because I want to color everything at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and just stamp randomly all around this, and then I'll get that colored in. Okay, so I wanted to show you how this lined up. I got some of it stamped so far, and as I was doing this, I thought it might be important for you to see, that's a second generation, but I'm doing the full stamping, how the leaves will line up as you go around. So then all you just do is take the next one and line that up in between there, and they just seem to work fine. You have a little bit of space, but it looks like it all goes together really well. So that's all you do, and then I'm going, like I said, I'm going to color it. So I just thought you would like to see how I did and do a little bit of the stamping so that it made sense. So I'll be back. Okay, so I have everything colored in, and this is what it would look like if I would put it together now. But I decided, because I want to tie in a little bit more, I don't want too much of the contrast, although if you want contrast, this is the way to go. I'm going to pick the Distress Oxide that I used for the background, which was the Salty Ocean. And what I'm going to do is I am just going to add a little bit of that ink. There are some other ways I think you can do this. You could actually color this in and take that white away if you wanted to. There are watercolor pencils that Tim Holtz has made to match. I'm not sure if Salty Ocean is in that set. I have a feeling it probably is, or something similar. But because I just have the ink, I'm going to go ahead and use my blending brush, and I'm just going to come in and carefully, because this is thin, it could buckle up. I am just going to come in and just put some of that on there to soften that white contrast. Now, if you like the white contrast, you don't need to do this. But I wanted to show you both ways. Now, if you think that this is too dull for what you've just colored too, you can even come back with a Q-tip very lightly and take some of that away from the top of the flowers. Or you could even come back in and color on top of this. But I think I'm going to like, for me, I'm going to like that it's a little bit dull. I'm okay with it. Anyway, the colors that I picked to color in the flowers was, again, I tried to pull from this so that it would kind of like coordinate together. Now, again, if you don't like matchy-matchy, I would do something different. But that's just what I did. Okay, so we've got that done. And you can see that that's just taken a little bit of that harsh white away. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm just going to do the edging on this. And again, kind of the reason for this is I decided to leave a gap between these two pieces. And so the blue is going to be showing between anyway, and it'll look like it's more of a continuous look. At least that's my intention. And then I decided that because of the sentiment and the sunshine, I am going to pull out one of my circle masks and add a little bit of a sunshine halo. That's what I plan to do. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use the same ink to do that. So I know, whoops, I know that I showed this to you before, but just for those that might not have seen, I have actually, quite frankly, I have a bag of masks of circles. And what I usually do is I call that auditioning to see which one I want to use. And I think this is going to work because I really don't want the halo to go over the sentiment words. So I'm going to get that as close as I can, and then just come back in with a little bit of this ink. And I start on my mask and then I go off, because otherwise it can be, and I've done that before too, it can be darker in one spot than the other, although that doesn't really bother me. But it might bother some people. Okay, so that's the intention for that. And that's kind of like how it looks. Again, I like the fact that the sun looks like it really is shining there and it's darker towards the top. But I always like to soften it with what's on my brush. I don't actually add more. Whoops, I don't know why I'm getting that for it to move all over. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do. And just to show you, then I'm going to go ahead and put this on a card base. What I'll probably do is put this on a piece of paper first and then put it on the card. So now it kind of like blends in and it looks like it's all one. But like I said, if you want that contrast, don't add the ink. So you can see how that goes. So I'm going to go ahead and put that together and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have finished with making the card, and I want to tell you some of the things that I did do. First of all, I totally built this on a piece of black cardstock because I wanted to be able to put it on here, and I wasn't sure it's going to be exactly in the right position. So by doing this, I could just put this on a piece of black paper and cut around it. And then the next thing I did was I decided that it needed a little bit more texture around the outside, because if you get any type, just to tell you, if you get any type of warping or anything, sometimes having the stitching around actually can distract from that and actually keep the warping down. So if you don't stitch, that's a little bit different, but that's what I did to try to change out that so that it wasn't as noticeable, if you want to put it that way. There's always things that you can do to kind of like disguise things that you might not be happy with. So obviously there's other ways not to probably get as much warping too. I know that you can also run things through your laminator in the heat setting, and that will also reduce some of the warping. But this worked for me, and I just wanted to show you what that end result was going to be. The only thing I didn't do is add some gold sparkle pen to my card like I usually do, and I will, and that will be in the picture. And I usually put some glitter on the wings, so actually the acrylic paint glitter. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and add that to the front of my card, and I'm going to put the products that I use in the description below. And I just wanted to remind you that the new release will be on Create and Craft Let Leonie Loose on April 19th. I believe that's correct. Right, on April 19th. And the release will be in the stores at the same time. So thanks so much for stopping by. And again, like I said, I'll have the information in the description below.